What is up, everybody, and welcome to this week's weekend preview of the Next
Let's
Guy Up
go, baby.
podcast. We've got a
Yeah,
very special episode for you guys. The energy is high, the vibes cannot be better. We
Let's
are
get it.
live on a Thursday night recording, so warning, trigger alert. The Jaguar game is on right in front of me while we record. So if something bad happens, I am not responsible for anything I do around here.
If you hear
But
any outbreaks, yeah.
yeah,
Sudden screaming is probably just something bad happened.
right. But it's
Or
gonna be
good
fine
happened.
or good, mostly hoping for the good. But here we go. So today we've got some very fun discussion topics. We're going to be talking about
Yeah.
the new Olympic sport that just got added. Zach has a fun playoff college football discussion for us. I'm looking forward to hearing. He has not even leaked a bit of info about what that's going to be.
so ready.
Then we will quickly do a weekend recap before we dive into this upcoming weekend's our favorite matchups. Then we're going to do best bet, and then the worldwide most profitable parlay. There it is, the Next Guy Up parlay. It's one of its last one.
That's right.
We'll be doing that. We did.
Yeah.
I was just going to say we're going to hop on a prop. We've decided as a team we will be those will be coming out still when we do like our weekend graphic of our bets. It's just props are so hard. We're trying to give them out way too early.
Yeah.
And it's just let's do better research.
I think it's a great idea. I think we're freeing up some room in this episode for some other stuff, which is let's just start off with a new segment for the day. We are calling it Victory Laps. This is where we talk about all of the wins we had over the past week, all the victories that we're celebrating. And first and foremost, Tim just mentioned it. The Next Guy Up parlay is 1-0 in the past week. We hit it. Shout out to our guy Josh who took it with us and got rich off of it.
That's right, baby.
Yeah, he sent it to us. He said he took it. He believed in the Next Guy Up parlay, and guess what? He made some pretty good money off of it. So
heck yeah, plus 400. Let's go.
yeah, we're gonna take that one, folks. I think this is gonna get the ball rolling for us. I feel really good about this
That's
week
right.
as well. That's a big victory for us. Big dub.
And what's crazy is that the thing that we had to sweat the most was a 49ers first quarter minus a half a
Boy,
point
was
out
it a
of
sweat.
everything.
Yeah.
That was the sweat of it all,
sweat.
which it was, I think. So I had on Sunday Ticket, all the other games were like halfway through the second quarter, and we were still like finishing up the first quarter. It was the longest first quarter of my life. So long, but we got through it. We cashed that win, and it's just from here on out, we keep them rolling, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, we do.
The second victory lap actually is attached to that one.
That's right.
We had some takes about USC. We said USC guys, their offense is fine. Whatever. Caleb Williams is okay, but their defense is terrible. Well, guess what? Caleb Williams throws 3 interceptions in the first half. USC on their way to a very nice 8-4 season. Congrats to Lincoln Riley on your offense. Too bad there is at least 2 facets to a football game. So shout out to us being right about that take as well. USC, not a good football team.
So that's number 2 win. We also had a third win today with our boy Tins. Why don't you tell us about the day that you've had? That's why we're all super hype right now. Just give us a little bit of that.
So here's the thing. You're never going to see us hand out baseball picks. We're not baseball guys. I will be up front.
Correct.
I am in a Discord that hands out amazing, great baseball picks, and I tell them, well, these boys today cooked up something. I turned $2 into $665 on some pitchers getting some strikeouts, baby.
Chewy.
So it was fun. I didn't realize how early the game was starting. It was one of those situations where I was like, well, I'll just, I'll throw $2 here. The game starts in like 10 minutes. It'll be fun. And then I blinked and looked up in like the 5th inning and they had cashed. It was one of them to get 7 strikeouts, one to get 6, one the guy who's supposed to get 6 got 7, the other guy got 9. So it could have been even crazier if we would have stepped the ladder up one more step. So it was wild. Those Beat the Books. They're all over Twitter. I'm in their Discord for baseball and basketball. So it's no free pub, but they're pretty legit. And I'm sure if you're on Twitter, you've seen them because they're huge.
Everywhere, yep.
But I
So
mean,
did you take that money you won and put it on the Jags tonight, money line?
no, responsibly, it went straight. I called Morgan and told her what had happened, and I was like, so I'll deposit most of that into our bank account. I kept some playing around money, but the
Of
majority of it
course.
went into our bank account for responsible
Smart.
adult things for
That's
our
right.
small children and stuff like that. My dogs, which they're wrestling right now, I need them to shut up. So if you hear
And I
them,
know I know
sorry.
we're kind of getting off topic here, but we've talked about it before where I feel like casinos and like betting, if you're up, then you continue to be like, man, I could take this money that I'm already up on and just keep flipping it for more and more until they took what they won, even if they did win and they lose all of that altogether. How many times would you ever like actually leave, or you see people at a casino that leave? They only leave when they're like completely empty pockets or they're just hurting bad. They're never leaving because they take that money and they're on a high, right? They're like, let's keep it going. Where you actually took that money and took it out. So proud of you, Tens.
Yeah, no,
Right.
there's a lot of good resources that talk about bankroll management
Yep.
and how to gamble long term without it like what you're saying. You bet until you're out of money. No, that's not smart. You don't bet crazy like that because
Go chasing. That happens a
yeah,
lot as
you
well.
definitely don't go chase. So you stick to what your unit size is and go from there, and it keeps it fun. And when you do hit it, it makes it worth it. So
We're informing the people because, we talk about betting here, but there's betting and then there's smart betting. There's a difference. So keep it smart, people.
It's deep.
yeah, unlike all these Saints fans I just saw on my TVs that are like dressed up all dumb like idiots, and they have to go home with this L after this game, dressed up like Darth Maul but black and gold. So
What
good
does that
luck,
have to
buddy.
do with smart betting and dumb betting?
They're dumb.
They're making a dumb bet, dressing like idiots, and their whole night's going to be ruined. You know how much of an L it is to look yourself in the mirror when you get home after losing on Thursday night and have to take a shower and get all this face paint off of you?
Wasn't there a guy in London that was dressed like a jaguar?
Yeah, he's at
That
this. He's actually at this game tonight. The
so what's the
Jags, the
difference in
Jags
him
flew
and
him
the?
out because we won both games. That makes him smart.
Could be.
You're right. All right, good.
All right. So moving into our next little fun segment at the beginning of this pod. This week it was announced. So Olympics are coming to Los Angeles in 2028. Part of the process of hosting an Olympics means that you, as the host country, get to pick a couple of sports that are kind of unique to your country. And the USA this year decided to do flag football as one of those sports. And so there will be flag football in the 2028 Olympics, which is kind of hype, honestly. A little bit unfair, possibly, considering I'm really curious as to what kind of athletes the other countries are going to put out there.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be fun to watch. We're just going to see. I mean, we could see a bunch of like sprinters out there just like trying to blow past people and catch footballs. I don't know. I don't think any country is going to compete like football wise with the United States, but that's, I guess, part of us getting to pick which sports we wanted.
So I'm not discrediting athletes or flag football professionals at all, but do you think if you stopped what you were doing now, I've actually talked about this at my work. If I was like, okay, I'm going to train outside of my 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 job, could you be ready to actually be a part of a professional fantasy football, or not fantasy, sorry, flag football team? I got fantasy football in the mind. Flag football team for 2028. You're talking about, I know
No.
age is, because I'm about to turn 30, so age is not on my side. But if you're like a 15-year-old and you're like 2028 and I could start training, and if I start knowing people or reaching out, it's a serious thing. I was wondering about that because it's not, I hate to say this, it doesn't compare up to like speed skating or sprinting, right? Am I crazy? Like, I know there's skill with it, but I feel like you could. John Ross, which isn't he on an NFL team, he retired. He's known for having the fastest 40 time. He could probably get on there right now just because he's known for being fast. Am I right about that?
Maybe.
I got some head shakes there.
I don't think for sure that I could. I think there are some Olympic sports. I remember the story. I don't remember who it is, but they trained for like years. I think they were kind of rich already, so they didn't have to worry about money, and they trained for years to be like an Olympic slalom skier. That's all they did was every day they went out and full-time trained. And I think he actually made the Olympics eventually, which is pretty cool. With that being said, there is an entire group of professional athletes who literally do this for a living that there's a pool to pull from already. I seriously doubt anyone who is not a college or professional athlete is going to be competing for the flag football team.
Fair
and
enough.
I will say, I did see this on Twitter. It said the NFL executive vice president said that not only is the NFL going to allow players to play, they're going to encourage players to play. So they're going to push, because I mean, that's a fun opportunity. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity to get to be in the Olympics. So they're going to push players to say, hey, if you want to take this opportunity, let's do it. It's fun.
What about injuries? What if Patrick Mahomes like tears his ACL or something in the?
It's flag football, so that's part of it. It's less contact, obviously. It's theoretical. I mean, sure, there is a possibility, but NBA players play in the Olympics, hockey players play in the Olympics, NHL players do. So it's part of the risk, obviously, but I think that's a cool, probably once in a lifetime opportunity. So I think that's a cool thing.
I think where the biggest misadvantage, like for the other countries, is that we have guys that play quarterback.
Correct.
There could be track stars from other countries. There could be very good athletes that do other things that could pick up how to play flag football in terms of catching, running, pulling a flag, like being athletic, but like playing quarterback. I mean, you're still making throws. They're going to be playing. It's like playing 7-on-7 non-contact, like when these guys are doing like summer drills and stuff.
Right.
But you still have to have like a quarterback. So I think that's where it's going to be unfair. I think
cornerbacks as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is another sport that's it's pretty widely known that like cornerback, other than maybe the quarterback, is the hardest position to play. And so that position of trying to guard someone that's very fast is pretty unique to football. And so I think they could obviously run someone super fast if there's wide receiver, but if they have the best cornerback in the league guarding them, like what are they going to do?
Because there's a difference with running with a guy and understanding how to cover a route when these guys.
It's a lot different.
Oh, what are we doing, Jags? Why are we doing trick plays? All right.
Yes.
Let's just throw this out there. We don't have to draft a whole team or anything, but if there are some players in the league right now, or even in college right now, who you're like, this guy would be elite on a flag football team. So you're thinking cornerbacks, wide receivers, quarterbacks. Who do you think is going to be on this team? We have 5 years until the Olympics.
It's a given, right? Let's all say it together. Tyreek Hill.
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
Thank you. Good job. Yes.
We're on the same page, Mason.
Literally has to be a known, like, the guy's the fastest in the world, in my opinion.
And he's just good after the catch too, even in the NFL. Like, I mean, he's got great agility, makes guys miss. So that's like a really big thing with flag football.
So you feel like it's very speed oriented flag football versus power oriented.
Yes, I have an embarrassing confession. I actually played in college and I was awful. I did not know the rules. None of us did. And you cannot block the flag. You cannot do stiff arms. It's all about like juking and spin moves and like weird things. You have to have your arms up when running. It's kind of very awkward because you can't block the flag. So it has to do with speed more than like, yes, it's not very natural. But I just say you're kind of going for like the fast people. Sorry. But yeah, let's keep it going. I just wanted to throw that out there. Like for people that didn't know flag football, you kind of have to know that. So let's keep it going.
I feel like a running quarterback.
No, sorry. I was just saying get down, Trevor. I wasn't telling you to hurry up. My bad. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
He was talking to Trevor Lawrence.
This is what happens when we have a game with the pod. You guys are getting it here first. He ran out of bounds, so you're fine. But I want to throw something out. Gronk is going ahead and like jumping at the gun of like wanting to be on, which people are like, okay, don't you have to try out for this? He's already like wanting an invite. he's also a physical player that just runs through people. So I don't understand that disconnect. But what
Yeah,
do
you want
y'all
a
think
tight
about
end,
that?
you're looking at like Brock Bowers. 5 years from now, he'll be in the league for 4 years already.
Yeah.
He'll be a 4-year veteran in the league.
Hey, that's a good transition because I think we should go ahead and go to that. What about Brock Bowers, Zach?
Yeah, Brock Bowers, tough hit for a Georgia team who has been, let's say, less than dominant this year. Brock Bowers goes down. Tens is excited about something.
Travis Etienne, baby. Touchdown.
Second one, baby.
It's like we're
Let's
getting a
go.
lot of commentary on the game. I'm not even watching it, but I feel like I'm watching it.
So I'm behind, and it's hilarious just to hear tens. But go ahead, Brock Bowers.
Yeah, so Brock Bowers' injury, we 4 to 6 weeks potentially out. Huge. I think there's a question of, is it smart for him to try and rush into anything and get back? He's won a couple of national titles already. He is bound for the NFL, obviously, first round draft pick. So is it worth it for him to try and come back for maybe like a last couple of weeks of the season plus a playoff run potentially? I think that depends on where Georgia is at the time. Big for Tennessee fans, I think that means he will
Correct.
probably be not on the field for the Tennessee
Yeah.
game, which is honestly
That's
huge because
huge.
if not for Brock Bowers, Georgia may have a loss at this point. To be like, without
Yeah.
him single handedly taking over the Auburn second half,
Yeah.
there is at least a decent chance that Georgia already has a loss. So I think that's huge. He has been a huge portion of their offense so far this season.
Straight up, half the time I watch them play, I'm like, oh, it's him again catching the ball and scoring a touchdown. It's insane how much he's involved. And I just want to speed real quick. Like, this is a fast, like, throw this out there. I know this is recency bias, but Kyle Pitts not doing so good in the NFL. What pick did he go? Like, what was it, 10? Help me out. 4 or 5 or something. And with Brock Bowers, is he not going to be a top 5 pick for a tight end, which would be wild? But I mean, he's literally the best tight end we've seen in a really long time in college. Insane.
Yeah. Prospect wise, he's definitely like a better prospect than Kyle Pitts, and Kyle Pitts was a top 5 pick. I think the only thing you might struggle seeing him get drafted that high this year is because it is such a heavy quarterback class.
Yeah.
And then
So maybe top 10.
Yeah, I think he's a top. I think he'll go top 10. I think you're going to see a lot of teams move up to get these quarterbacks. Marvin Harrison Jr., another skill set player that's going to go really high.
Yeah.
Unless the Bears just draft 2 quarterbacks with the top 2 picks.
See which one. They're so bad at drafting
Let
quarterbacks.
them have a QB battle in the offseason. Yeah.
Gosh, I do look forward to our offseason, some draft stuff. Me and Mason are very big draft nerds.
Yeah.
I do a lot of prep for the draft, so that'll be fun. Something to look forward to. A lot of stuff to talk about in the off season. We won't only talk about football in the off season. We do watch other sports just as a precursor. We do like basketball and hockey, and we got some fun stuff planned.
Volleyball.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, no, Brock Bowers is probably like Zach said, I think he's the only reason they haven't lost a game yet. And so it'll be interesting to see going forward how they adjust, because he is like
he's just a cheat code.
Their
Like,
offense.
throw it up to
He really
him.
is.
If you're in a bad situation, just throw it to him, and he's going to make a play.
Yeah, and he makes plays
Without
after the
that
catch.
safety valve. Like, where do you turn now?
Yeah. He's very much like.
Sorry, Tins, what are you saying?
No, you're good. I was just saying he's very much like Travis Kelce, where he'll catch a 5-yard pass, but he'll turn it into a 40-yard gain with he's athletic enough and can break tackles. So I'm very excited as a UT fan that he's probably not going to be playing in that game.
That's big. It is big. Yeah.
That gives a huge advantage to UT. Speaking of UT, how are we feeling about this Alabama game and their chances of winning the East?
The chances of UT winning the East?
Yeah.
I think Alabama game is going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be obviously it's a huge game for UT and for Alabama. I mean, Alabama has their season on the line right now. Alabama is they're still fighting for the SEC West spot, which is proving to be a little bit soft right now, that SEC West, whoever's going to make the SEC championship game. For Tennessee, this is also do or die. We lose this game, and it's pretty much going to wrap it up for Georgia. With 2 losses in the SEC, I don't think Georgia's taking that. So, I mean, that's going to basically give Georgia a free bye into the SEC championship, where they'll probably play Alabama or LSU, depending on how the season turns out and what happens with LSU's defense, if they can get it together or not. So, I mean, a huge game. I don't know what's going to happen with I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be very competitive one way or the other. I do not see Alabama winning by a lot, but with how Tennessee's defense has been playing and with how kind of rough Alabama's offense has been playing. But I think it very well could be the same kind of game as at Texas A&M. I think it could be come down to the last couple of possessions. I think it could be a who makes a play at the end, who has a couple of turnovers. Whether the Vols can get a lot of pressure on Jalen Milroe or not, I think is going to be a huge difference maker in the game. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a fun one. I think I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was the opening line 9.5 or was it 9? It's at 8.5 now.
It depends on who you talk to. They were kind of between 9 and 10, depending on who you were looking at.
It's at 8.5 now with a over under of 47.5.
There's almost all the big games this weekend have super low over unders. It's kind of wild. Even Ohio State, Penn State, we'll talk about them a little bit later. But that over under is crazy low as well. It's like a really low over under. You're looking at Iowa and Minnesota.
Oh my goodness.
31 or
I've never seen an over under that low before. That's crazy.
Wild.
So speaking of some more college football stuff, Tens teased it earlier. I do have looking now. This is the part of the season where you kind of start seeing who the good teams are. You kind of start seeing who the bad teams are, who's emerging as at the top of their conference and pushing for those playoff chances. And so we only have 4 spots. And so I do have a chaos theory I've been kind of cooking up. This is the last year to kind of celebrate this chaos, because next year you have 12 spots. You've got 12 teams that could make it. It's reducing a lot of the chaos there. So let's talk about a few of the teams here coming down. And this is a group collaboration, so I need some help from the class here. So let's talk first about Big Ten. If you had to give me a couple teams out of the Big Ten who you think are playoff contenders, who would you say they are?
I mean, at this point, I think it's just Michigan.
It's playoff contender?
I think
with 2 other undefeated teams?
Yeah, I think Penn State's gonna. I like Penn State this weekend, and then I think that Ohio State. I just do not like the quarterback situation there. They should have. I don't think they're starting the right guy. He's not as an explosive player as they've had with Justin Fields, C.J. Stroud, even going back to earlier days, Braxton was Miller and Cordell Jones. I mean, they've always had good quarterbacks. I can't even remember this guy's name.
No, he's not as good as traditional Ohio State quarterbacks have been. But I think there are 3 teams who have a potential. They're top 10 teams right now, all 3 of them. We have Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. And so all 3 of those teams play each other regular season. I truly have no idea how good Penn State or Ohio State are at this point, really. Ohio State pulled out a really tough win against Notre Dame. Penn State has played literally no one. Michigan has played even less of no one. So, and as part of my chaos theory, we're going to say that all 3 of those teams play each other, and we're going to say that all 3 of them emerge from that series at 1 loss.
Okay.
So you could say whatever order you want to say, but we're going to say all 3 of them come out at 1 loss, and then whoever. So at that point, if you start looking at the Big Ten tiebreakers, boy, it gets crazy at that point because they'll all have 1 conference loss, and it's going to come down to the record of the teams that they beat, and it gets crazy from there. So whoever wins that tiebreaker will end up probably playing Iowa and winning by about 45 points in the Big Ten championship game. So at the end of the day, you could have potentially 3 1-loss teams in the Big Ten. So moving on a little quicker, we're moving to the Pac-12, where obviously we have Texas and Oklahoma. Texas has a loss right now, But what's going to happen is almost assuredly they're going to meet again in the Big 12 championship game, play each other. So let's say, for the sake of our chaos theory, Texas wins that rematch, which I think is actually pretty probable. And they
Yeah.
both emerge at one loss, with the only losses being to each other. Moving down the chaos theory. Looking at the Pac-12, we have Oregon and Washington, who just played a very, very good football game, very close battle, kind of similar to that Texas-Oklahoma game. Washington obviously went at the last second, but again, they probably are going to meet again in the Pac-12 championship game. So let's say, for the sake of our theory, that Oregon wins that game. Now
Right.
Oregon and Washington both have a loss as well, only to each other. Let's move into the SEC, which I think this is the least likely one, but we're going to roll with it. SEC, we have Georgia playing, let's say, Alabama or an LSU in the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama or LSU pulls up a huge upset and beats Georgia. You could potentially have 2 one-loss teams there. And then lastly, in the ACC, I think this is the least interesting one. But I will say North Carolina has looked pretty good, and their schedule is a little bit softer. They play at Clemson. I think it's at Clemson, which will be their toughest game. And then Florida State is there as well, playing a big game in Duke for potentially some pretty big ACC implications there. So when it's all said and done, now that I've presented all of that, we have a potential for like 10 one-loss teams to emerge out of the scenario, only of losing to each other.
Right.
And so I don't know if we've ever had a scenario like this where every team in the nation looks beatable, but all of those top 10 teams, I think, could beat any of the other ones pretty much at any given day. I mean, I have no doubt that Oregon or Washington is going to play Georgia really close.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, I don't think all this is going to happen. I think, but maybe if one or two of these situations go down, there's going to be some real conversations when there's legitimate 6 or 7 teams that I think could say we should be getting a playoff spot, and there's only 4 available. So maybe this year more than ever, we're going to see some teams really lose out on a playoff spot and look ahead to that 12-team playoff next year. But I think that's going to be I think some of those are going to happen probably. Chaos.
Chaos everywhere.
No, yeah, I think it's definitely, we don't have like like a group of 5 team like a Cincinnati where we're like, oh, they're undefeated, they should get in. Like, there's no chance of that. It's everyone's going to be fighting for the spot. I think we're only going to get the 4 conference winners. Like, I don't think we're going to get anybody double dipping here. I don't think any conference is getting 2.
Probably not, unless they beat each other up. I mean, that's the only scenario. If US, I still don't think that. Yeah, I think you're right. But like, unless the Pac-12 beats each other up, and then you have a bunch of 2, like USC pulls up something crazy against Washington or Oregon, and then all of a sudden,
that is the one thing. I think with the Pac-12, there is a chance that a USC high-powered offense could knock off a team like Washington or Oregon and muddy the water over there, and a team that I'm very high on, but they're playing very well, is Oregon State. And Oregon State could very well – they play Washington and Oregon.
Yeah.
They could play spoiler. They have 1 loss. They probably think of themselves as, hey, if we win the Pac-12, we deserve to go to the playoff as well. So they're a pretty fired up football team. They play very physical football. So they're going to be trying to ruin someone's season on top of trying to get in for themselves. And I don't put it past Oklahoma to drop a game either. The Big 12 is so random. Like,
sure.
Like, you could tell me they lose to UCF this weekend, and I wouldn't be like shocked.
Right. Yeah, Oklahoma, they have a really good quarterback, and they looked really good against Texas, but their schedule, other than that, it's been pretty soft. And so, I mean, you're right. They could definitely, all these teams could drop one, but looking at that list of if like unanimously known as the best like 10 teams in the nation, and you're looking at like the perennial powerhouses of college football are all up there.
Yeah, all
every
big
team
names are there.
Except for Notre Dame.
Rip
to those guys.
Unless you're holding a
and USC
-800 ticket.
That's true. Well, that's a lot of college football for us today.
Should we transition to Tinsley's favorite NFL team of all time,
Let's transition.
the Buffalo Bills?
Oh, the Buffalo. I got a lot to say about
Oh,
the
I know you
Buffalo
do.
Bills.
And I'm ready for it. Get hyped up, everybody. Let's all take a 2-second break just to take this in right now. 3, 2, 1, go.
Here we go. So the Bills got to the opportunity to play the Giants Sunday night. The Giants, who are a dumpster fire, the Giants who are pulling guys off their couch. Literally, if you listen to the intro for Justin Pugh, he said straight off my couch because he had just got signed 3 days before. He's been retired for a year to come play offensive line.
It's true.
It's literally that backup quarterbacks in. The Giants have been getting blown out multiple weeks in a row. And what happens? The Bills almost lose. And the whole time the game is getting played, all they're talking about in the broadcast is, well, the Bills, they did travel to London last week, so they're feeling the jet lag effects and blah, 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 blah. The Jacksonville Jaguars played that day, too, at 1 o'clock on Sunday against the Colts, who are better than the Giants. Mason, did we play a really close game against the Colts?
Nah, not at all. Blowout.
Oh, that's right. 37-20.
Tell it. Tell it, Tins.
So once again on this podcast, I would just like to make it known that the Bills are the most overhyped, most beloved media team for no good reason. They are not as good as the people of the media will tell you they are. Fade them when you can. They're like -9 this weekend against the Patriots. Take the Patriots. It's not an official play, but it's just a personal play.
What?
It'll be
but
going
the
out.
Patriots have been garbage.
I
What
don't
do you
care.
mean, Tins?
I don't care. The Bills are garbage. And then Justin Herbert, this is on weekend recap, but I'll just do it now. You're not clutch, bro. You had the ball in your hand with 2 minutes left. You're down 3, and you lost. And this happens a lot. You're not clutch. You're Turbo Phillip Rivers. I said it.
Okay, can I this wasn't in the document, but I just want to talk about the baddest beat of my entire life. I've had some horrible ones, which one of them was a cowboy, which I was a half a yard short one time. So I took a parlay to pay out like close to $100. I don't know what it was actually. Let's just say it was 100 because it sounds good. And all I needed was 8 completions at the second half from Dak Prescott. So because Herbert could not go down the field and kick a field goal to take it to overtime, Dak Prescott only had 6 completions. He needed 8. So I was too short. It was a bad beat. I sent it in a couple texts. I was throwing up. It was awful.
It's too bad your Super Bowl Chargers, your Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in like 2 seconds. But yeah, it's a bad beat for.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Your quarterback of your dreams, Mr. Everything, couldn't lead his team down to tie up the game to get it to overtime for you. Instead, he threw an ugly pick and lost because he's not clutch.
I'm pretty sure he took a sack before that play as well. It was tough. And I stayed up late. I go to bed. If anybody knows me, I go to bed at like 9 o'clock. A happy Mason is someone that gets like 12 hours of sleep at night. And I stayed up to watch that hot garbage of a game at like 10:30 at night just to see him throw a pick and not go to overtime. And my bet didn't cash. So tough break. Thank you, Zach.
Tough beat for Mason.
I appreciate it. Can we just talk about the Titans as we transition? Because we got to keep the ball rolling here. Let's talk about it. Go ahead, Zach.
I don't want to talk about it.
How about you,
Titans are pretty bad. They're bad.
So if anybody missed it, we were on the struggle bus in London, I might add. I had another bet that all the legs hit except for them to win the game. And it ripped my heart out.
Dang.
And Zach or Tins, either one, what have we been seeing here lately? Some trade rumors or blown up the team? Give us the deets.
Yeah, I've seen that they've now openly started shopping DeAndre Hopkins and Derrick Henry and Kevin Byard, actually. So tough.
Zach's reaction just gave it all right now.
This is not
Watch it on YouTube.
I did not know this.
So Kevin Byard, I think, is a legitimate one. Here's the issue. Running backs are not worth anything right now, unfortunately. I don't think anybody's going to want to
Should
pay.
Christian McCaffrey?
Well, yes,
He's
but I
worth
just
at least
mean
a
in
touchdown a
general,
game,
I don't think
apparently.
anybody's going to want to trade for him at the age that he's at. I think we're safe with him. But Kevin Byard is a legitimate. We just got DeAndre Hopkins. What do you mean we're going to trade him after we just got him? We're going to trade him away?
I mean, he was only on a 1 year deal, right?
Yeah, it's
It's
tough.
kind
It's
of
a tough
wild.
break
Everyone,
for
we
them.
we all recognize that the problem is the quarterback, right? That's the biggest issue. We can't score at all. You can't score touchdowns. You're not going to win football games. And yeah, I've never seen a team that has had such a hard time getting in the end zone.
Okay, I'm
I don't know
sorry, but
what it is.
is it the quarterback or is it the coaching? We're getting off topic once again because when we're in the end zone, for some reason, we do like this. Let's do a quarterback rollout with Tannehill instead of we're inside the 5 and we don't want to hand it off to Derrick Henry all 3 times. Like I know that's kind of a redundant. Let's break it down. Yes, Tens, go ahead.
No, I just have a fun thing because I know Titans fans, you guys hated your offensive coordinator last year. What was his name? Kelly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I work with Titans fans who just came in every day at work and just crying. He's the worst offensive coordinator in the league. Blah 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 blah. And then you guys just hire your tight end coach who worked under Kelly for so many years, who runs the same offense. Like I like Vrabel. I think he's a great coach, but he very much believes in just like sticking to what he knows. He doesn't like changing things. You guys are running the same offense. I mean, Derrick Henry is a monster. Your offensive line's not great, but he can kind of make up for that. But the play calling is just egregious. And Tannehill has fallen down a little bit, but he's not. He's still like top half starting quarterback, I
So he
think.
got injured, and he also got injured during that game. And according to my sources, he will not be ready after the bye. So Malik Willis, which is still our number 2, is going to go in there.
Oh no.
Oh,
I
thank you,
mean, I think
Zach.
at this point you need to see what those two guys can do because I think it's obviously Tannehill is not a long term solution. We're almost to a point this season where it's like playoffs are like approaching a point where I don't know that we're gonna get there with our current roster. And it's like why we need to figure out who our future quarterback is. Is it Willis? Is it Levis? Or do we need to pick up someone else to fill that role? Like I think it's now is the time to figure that out.
So I'm going to do some research and get quarterbacks that have lost their jobs due to injury. But one that comes to mind is Tyrod Taylor, which took a shot in the ribs and it ended up having some type of reaction to where he couldn't play that game and he lost the job forever to Justin Herbert, which was going to take his job over eventually. But regardless, I think this might be the trend of where not winning games. Let's go ahead. He's injured. Let's just go ahead. Malik Willis is going to be in the next game. And if he plays horribly, instead of putting Tannehill back in, they might go ahead and see what Will Levis is made of. That's my prediction right now. I could see that happening. So we'll see what happens. Hmm.
Hmm.
Very good. All right, let's keep it going. So, Tens, how many teams are undefeated now?
0.
What happened last week?
I think the Eagles just, or not the Eagles, I'm sorry, the 49ers just ran into a bad situation where they're playing a really good defense. They had some guys get hurt. CMC got hurt. Trent Williams got hurt. Debo got hurt. The weather was gross. And you have a rookie kicker who missed a field goal he should have hit to win the game, but this is the NFL. That stuff happens. So that's just kind of one of those where that's fine. But I'm more surprised by the Eagles. I mean, not that the Jets are a bad team; they're not terrible, but they just don't look the same as they did last year. Where
Yep.
I think they would have blown this team out last year and took advantage of Zach Wilson. But it's just I've said it all season. I like the Eagles. I like Jalen Hurts, but I think there's a lot of rumors about that shoulder that he should have had surgery on in the offseason and he didn't want to.
Uh-oh.
And it might be a long-term issue for this season because he's just not throwing the same as he was last year.
We'll see how that holds up. So 49ers 5-1 now. Eagles 5-1 now, and then we also have the Dolphins, the Chiefs, and the Lions all 5-1. So we'll see how that holds up. I'm curious to see it. The Lions are the shocker to me. I just sometimes I fall for the overhype of the entire public loving a certain team, and I fell for it. I was all over the Vikings to win the division, and Lions have been a surprise 5-1 team. Love it. Guess who's not 5-1? The Chargers. Go ahead, Tens. Tell us your spiel because I know you got something good for us.
I mean, I was spewing a couple minutes ago about Justin Herbert. He's not clutch.
Yep.
I think the head coach is an idiot. Um, they're just the Chargers, and they're always going to be until they change a whole lot of things. I think Justin Herbert's a good quarterback. He's probably a top 10 quarterback, but to put him at number 5 so early in his career just because he puts up big stats is not. He ain't got that dog in him.
He ain't got that dog in
I
him.
don't see him coming down for, if his team's down 27-0, I don't in a playoff game, away stadium, I think he folds.
Are you talking about a team that's playing right now as we speak, like a quarterback that's on
Maybe
the
has
field right
long
now?
blonde hair. Yeah. I don't think a guy like that I'm describing would fold in that situation. I think he'd come back from 27 points.
Tins, would you say the Chargers are set for a Super Bowl run right now?
No, I would say not. I'd say their scouts
Crazy.
are really looking into like the top 15 picks this year and seeing who they can draft.
Man, that'd be
And
wild if someone on this pod predicted them as Super Bowl winners.
we're pressing for time here, but I just want to real quick apologize to the public for my insane Super Bowl matchup of the Vikings versus the Chargers. I'm so
It's
sorry,
worse and
public.
worse every week.
Thank you. It looks pretty bad. Okay, so weekend recap is in the books. Now let's look at the weekend matchups that we want to see. Zach, you got a college game that you want to go ahead and break down. Let's hear it.
I do. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. This is a top 10 matchup. Game of the week. There's actually a lot of there's maybe at least 4 games this weekend that have playoff implications in them. This is a big one though. Penn State, Ohio State. This game is one of those matchups that you wait for every year to kind of see what's going on. This is a little bit different teams because neither of these teams are very good offensively. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Both teams are very good defensively. Now, you might chalk that up to saying, well, Penn State has played some terrible offenses. Yes, that is true. Ohio State obviously played Notre Dame and won that game last minute. I did not bet on this game because I have no idea what's going to happen. I truly don't. Ohio State's 4.5-point favorites. I think it could very well be a close defensive battle. This is usually the part of the season where Penn State ends up blowing up and we find out that they are not for real. We find out that they are just pretenders and they have been kind of cooking their way through their schedule until they get to this matchup. Maybe neither team is good and they're both going to get smoked by Michigan. That is a real possibility at this point. But I think this could potentially be a playoff elimination game. I think whoever loses this game is going to have a real uphill battle to playing into the Big Ten championship and playing into the playoff. So huge game for Penn State, who has kind of been trying to make that jump. Huge game for Ohio State, who has been very, very good for a long time and all of a sudden kind of looks beatable, which that can be said for a lot of teams in college football right now. So I think it's going to be a really fun game to see where the Big Ten is headed for the rest of the season.
Love it. All about it.
I think it's gonna be a very good game. I'm on Penn State. I'll be giving it out on Twitter, but if you're a loyal podcast listener, go ahead and jump on it now because it is moving quite a bit. I got it at 4.5. It's up to 5.5. So I wish I would have waited.
Really?
Yeah. FanDuel and DraftKings are both doing 50% boost on it. I love the spread. I think it's gonna be a 1-score game either way.
Yeah.
So 4.5, 5.5. That's great.
There you go.
You know what else you should jump on right now? This Raiders at Bears game.
Oh boy,
It's going to be
What a matchup.
Tyson. Yep, Tyson Bagent.
Badgett,
Is that
Badgett.
Bagent? Bagent? Words with Mason. I had a request for Words with
We
Mason. You
did have
got
a
it.
request.
Another word right now. Cinnamon.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Very close.
Versus Brian Hoyer. I'm just kidding. That's not the matchup I'm looking forward to. I do have something for that at the end of the episode, though. Stay tuned. I'm actually looking forward to the Chargers at the Chiefs. This is the best quarterback matchup of the weekend, in my opinion. Second highest total, but behind a game that Tens is about to talk about in a minute. This game is, in my opinion, will end the Chargers' playoff hopes if they lose this game. We talked about my Super Bowl winning Chargers. They will lose if they lose this game. It's over for playoff hopes.
They don't have hopes right now, brother.
Listen. If they win, there's a 10% hope, huh?
Yeah.
It's over at this point because they'll have a divisional loss and they'll be at 2-4 in the division that is the AFC West. So we'll see what happens. Also, the Chiefs have not really been themselves. A lot of people are saying you want to take the under on their live total because their season has been a cakewalk and it's about to get insanely hard, and they have looked hot garbage. So we'll see what happens. But that is my matchup of the weekend. Tens, let's hear about it.
I actually heard a fun stat that kind of leads towards your Chargers here as far as if you want to take them against the spread. Herbert, in his last 23 games, has only lost 3 times over a touchdown. So, yeah.
I like it.
He keeps games close. He just isn't close enough to go and win them. So anyway.
What's the highest total of the weekend? Tens?
Fun fact, I didn't know it was the game I picked, but it is the Dolphins and Eagles. Sunday Night Football. I'm very excited for this game. I'm looking forward to seeing this high-powered Dolphins offense. It's putting up Madden-type numbers.
Yep.
They scored 70 on Denver. They can score. It truly feels like they can score from anywhere on the field, even with A-Chain, the star running back, going out. Mostert's been great. So I mean, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. It's been fun to watch. But this Eagles team, I think they're going to have a good bounce back right here after a tough loss against the Jets. And if not, then I think we start wondering Super Bowl hangover, if Jalen Hurts is okay, what's going on, because this is a team they should bully. I like the Dolphins are fun, but they are not a tough, physical team. They can be pushed around a little bit on both lines of scrimmage. So looking forward to it, seeing how this game goes one way or the other. Because I don't like either of these teams. I don't have futures or anything on them, so it's just gonna be fun to see because they're both at the top of their conferences as far as playoff seeding right now. They're both towards the top.
I think that's going to be an insanely good offensive game. It's just Tyreek Hill. You got Keenan Allen. You got some of the best wide positional players. Austin Eckler. Mostert's been playing out of his mind. It's going to be a fun offensive game. I'm sorry. I just combined.
Did the Chargers just trade Eckler and Keenan Allen to the?
No, I was thinking of the Chargers a minute ago. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I'm still on the Chargers. You know what I mean, though.
I know what you meant.
Dolphins and the Eagles, still offensive good with the Eagles. AJ Brown is playing really well as well, so we'll see what happens.
I love it.
All right, so should we go ahead and hit our best bets?
Yes, let's do it. Let's get after it.
All right, Tens, kick us off.
All right, mine is loading. I got some fun stats I wanted to look up. All right, here we go. I am riding with the Buccaneers -2.5, and here's why. By now, you've probably heard the fun stat that Desmond Ridder had not lost a home game until last week. He was 32-0 at home.
Holy cow!
His splits were crazy. He's literally putting up double the numbers at home than he does on the road. This Bucks team, I think, had a little bit of a coming down to earth situation. They started the year off hot, a lot better than anyone expected, including myself, with how many games they won. But I think they're a solid team with a solid defense. And the Eagles, I'm sorry, not the Eagles. Now you got me mixed. I got birds getting mixed up here.
I'm sorry.
Falcons are traveling to the Bucks, and I just don't see where Desmond Ritter is a good enough quarterback to be able to outperform this Buccaneers offense that's playing well. Ritter is 0-4 on the road as a starter in the NFL, 1-3 against the spread. He's also a quarterback who struggles against pressure. The Bucks blitz 40% of the time, which ranks third most in the NFL. Ritter ranks 23rd out of 32 quarterbacks against the blitz. And on the road this year, the Falcons are averaging 10 points a game. The Falcons love to run the ball with Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier. The Bucks are a top 10 run defense, so they're going to force Desmond Ritter to beat them. And I just think they've got too much on their defense to overcome for Ritter when he does not play well in these kind of conditions. I look for Baker Mayfield to dink and dunk his way up and down the field. I love -2.5 here.
And the Bucks have really been like that surprise team of the season, right? I think they already are. They either have or they're close to their win total already. They've just been Baker Mayfield has played incredibly well with that offense. A lot of people thought that Kyle Trask would have took over, but just like it's been incredible what he's been able to do with that team. So it's been looking really, really well for the Bucks. So I like that pick. All right, I'm going to speed things up a little bit. Mine is going to be my best bet is Rashee Rice from the Chiefs over 35.5 receiving yards at -125 on BetMGM. It was at 34.5. It's already moved, so I couldn't give it at 34.5. I took it at that. He's been targeted 30% of his routes. He's going up against a secondary that has been known for wide receivers dominating throughout the game. That would be the Chargers. Wide receiver ones against the Chargers defense. Let's start at week 1 with Tyreek Hill, 215 yards, Jalen Waddle, 78. Week 2, Treylon Burks, 76, Chris Moore, 49, DeAndre Hopkins, 40. Week 3, Justin Jefferson, 149 yards, Jordan Addison, 52, Devontae Adams, 75 yards, CeeDee Lamb last week, 117 yards. They have been crushing it against that secondary. He is technically wide receiver 1. I know they got Miko Hardman back, which he had been with the team previously. I still love this total. If it was like in the 50s or something, I'd be a little nervous. 34, are you kidding me? He could catch that in 2 passes. For a quarterback that gets like 300 yards a game or close to it, you have to take this. So that's my best bet. Put it in the books. Zach, what you got?
All right. So I am from the college football world. I am taking Duke plus 14.5. They are playing Florida State this weekend in what is a huge college football playoff potential matchup. We have Duke has lost their quarterback for this game, at least Riley Leonard. That is a big blow, but that's what's causing this huge number difference, plus 14.5. I will say Duke has been very, very good on defense. Now, the teams they played, they lost to Notre Dame. And some of the teams they played have not been good other than that. But they have been averaging like less than 10 points allowed per game. And so by my math, if you're only allowing less than 10 points, then it's pretty easy to win by 14.5. Or not to lose by less than 14.5. So you can't lose by 15 if you only give up 10. That's what I'm trying to say. So I say Duke maybe still loses that game to Florida State, who I think is a better team, but I think they covered that 14.5 points. So that's my best bet. I think there is a very good chance it's at least competitive in the fourth quarter, and I do not think that Florida State blows Duke out.
If you heard tens make noises during that, it's because the Jags had a fake punt that was converted. But Zach, good pick. I really like that pick a lot. Duke has been known to upset or have closer games than you think they
And
are.
it's at
So
home too, and they're hosting Florida State, and one of the biggest games Duke football has hosted in a long time. So I think that'd be a
yeah.
fun one.
I thought it was at Florida State.
I could be wrong.
Uh-oh. Okay, let's keep the parlay. We gotta keep this going. We're on time. So let's go ahead and start with Tinge, your next guy up parlay, while Zach is Googling and fact checking
Love it.
us. Go ahead. What's your leg?
I'm going Rams money line here, everybody. The Steelers, yes, they're coming off bye. They're getting Deontay Johnson back, but here's the thing: I think the Steelers team sucks. Their offense is terrible. Their offensive coordinator should have been fired by now. They are one of the least explosive offenses in the league. Their run game is non-existent, and you're playing a Rams team that is playing above average football on the defense, playing a lot better than anyone expected them to. They found Puka Nakua as this crazy late round draft pick. So I really like the Rams offense to be able to move the ball. And unless the Steelers literally count on JJ Watt to score a defensive touchdown to be able to win football games. So I like my chances. Rams money line. I'm not going to take the -3.5. I'm not going to mess with that.
We're playing safe. We're playing this one safe, everybody.
Yeah.
We're trying to get another dub this weekend.
Trying to get some dubs.
Is it at Duke or
it's at Florida State? Tins was correct. Thanks for the fact check. It is at Florida State, so that does change things a little bit. But I still feel good about Duke covering that one.
14.5. That's 2 touchdowns.
That's not an interception. That ball hit the ground. Thank you.
Okay. Love it.
All right. So
just throwing it in
my parlay pick, I think, is a great one. We have not talked about either of these teams today, but we are into the SEC East. I believe in betting what I know, and so I know SEC football this year. I know, and if I know one thing out of the season so far, it is that South Carolina is imploding. Shane Beamer is an absolute clown, and he is afraid for his life over there at South Carolina. I get the feeling that he's losing that locker room a little bit. Last year, he really had a knack for kind of pulling folks together and getting that team riled up, even though they weren't the greatest team in the world. He has had that comparison to Butch Jones ever since he started, and I think it is stronger now than ever. I think he has a great quarterback in Spencer Rattler, but that offensive line is so bad. And I think there is no chance South Carolina wins this game on the road against Missouri, who is, at this point, they have their eyes on potentially putting something special together over there. I think their schedule is about to get a lot tougher here at the end of the year, and they're going to have some good teams to roll through. But that Missouri team has become all of a sudden no joke, and they're not going to go to the playoffs, I don't think, but they have a chance to kind of put together one of the best seasons Missouri's seen in a long time. So they're not going to want to drop this one to this joke of a South Carolina team. I think Missouri wins easily. Again, I'm keeping this one safe. The line was at -7, which I didn't feel great about, but I feel really good about money line. So that's why we're taking that one.
Love it. All right, speed. I am speed. I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock, get this done. My last leg is Raiders money line -135. I know it's crazy, but to bet on the Raiders, as much as I've joked about this game already, I don't understand how you could not take a team that has a QB with 14 years experience, even though he's a backup against a quarterback that is a first time starter in the NFL. Brian Hoyer has a QBR of 94 when filling in for Jimmy G last week. However, Baggett, what's his name? Badgett has a QBR of 16 when filling in for Justin Fields last week. It's just not about the QBs. Bears defense allowed the third most points this season with 29.3 points this season, where the Raiders are in the middle of the pack with 21.8 points this season. Put it in the books. I already calculated it up. It is a +272 parlay.
Ooh, I like that.
So I'm feeling pretty good. We went minus 162, minus 135, minus 310 on Missouri money line. What I would suggest to everybody, we've not talked about this at all, but check around, shop around at different books. You might get a better number than what I have, but plus 272, put it in the books. That's it. That's the parlay.
Let's get it.
That's it. That's the one.
Love it. It's gonna win.
I love that. I'm about to go put it in right now.
All right, who wants to close us out?
All right. Well, that is our episode today. Weekend preview. Thank you guys for joining us. If I were you, I would go take the next guy at Parlay. They have not missed ever in the past week. So make sure you take it. It's going to hit. I feel really good about this one. I hope you tuned into our bonus episode that came out Wednesday. It was a popular episode. The gals of the Next Guy Up podcast today, great job with that Taylor Swift draft. They put some of our drafting to shame. I'm looking at you, Mason. And
what the?
We have another Messing on Monday coming at you on Monday. We are finishing up our candy draft, our 3-part ultimate candy draft. So we got some fun stuff in the books for you. All right. Without further ado, we hope you guys have a great weekend. May all of your teams sweep. See ya.